We've all faced the horrors that the lockdown brought along with us, but there are stories that have not been told yet. And today we will talk about the stories that Madhur Bhandarkar sir himself has brought with India's lockdown. We have with us Shweta, Madhur sir himself, Aahana and Prateik. A very warm welcome to Zoom TV. How are you all doing?
Thank you so much. Thanks to
I'm
be
doing
here.
good as well. First things first, because I happened to get a glimpse of the trailer that you have made. It obviously looks emotionally very powerful in that sense because of the troubles that we've all faced. How was it like to shoot those moments, and what were your breathers in between such highly emotionally filled shots that you all have shot?
This was immediately shot. The film was immediately shot after the first lockdown got over, and things were started moving. Like we started taking baby steps, and we people started going out for work and all. Not in a large manner, but people started going out and all. We had this bubble where we used to shoot with limited people. So almost immediately after lockdown, we shot in 2021 and February and March period we shot. So we took all the precautions, we took all the whatever government protocol was there, and we shot and we lived with that 5-6 months of COVID post 2020 March started. So the film, in fact, start from there only. It start from that 2020 thing and how we go into COVID, and the film comprises of the starting 15-20 days of it. And this subject, I felt it should be told to the audience, to the public large, and it should be documented. That's the reason India Lockdown was scripted, and then we got a great cast with Prateik, Sai, Aahana, Shweta, Prakash Belwadi, everybody, and they brilliantly performed so flawlessly in the characters which we wanted. So the movie was shot in a very 26-27 days. We shot the entire film till the second lockdown happened. So we were very lucky enough. We got that space of making the big window we got of February, March, and April again the lockdown started, which was a very massive one. So that period we shot, and we could feel the whole ambience because we all have lived that lockdown. We were very acquaintance to it completely. We knew what happened during lockdown. Every aspect we saw about it. We saw how many people were walking from here, and every person as an individual also, and public in large also, and worldly affair. What it happened, it was completely global thing what we happened. So it all we try to get into a film in 1 hour 55 minutes, and different character, different stories line you have, like some Prakash Belwadi plays an old man who wants to go to Hyderabad to meet his daughter. Prateik and Sai plays a migrant worker who wants to go to their village. Shweta plays a sex worker over here, how she is basically wants to survive in this lockdown. And pilot role played by Aahana Kumra, how she's confided in the room, who had a habit of continuously flying, and suddenly she's confided in the room. So those were the aspect of things which we took from the real life. It derived from a lot of things which were real life people we saw, we interacted and all, and then we add fiction to it to cinematically usko kis tarah se isko dikhana chahiye. So that's how India Lockdown was made and executed.
Right. Obviously, I mean, it did take all this time for the movie to actually finally make it to the audiences. Any of y'all, do you all think that there might be some kind of tiny disconnect that people might feel when they talk about it now?
See,
I don't think so.
sorry,
Gee,
go
no,
ahead.
please.
Thank you. So, see, the film does not want to trigger people about the times that were, of course, painful for everyone. ये हम लोगों को वो pain दोबारा नहीं याद दिलवा रहे हैं, and we all know that we have all suffered and survived that time, and a lot of people who didn't survive in that period. The film is a reminder that life बहुत ही unpredictable है, and जैसा सर ने कहा that 4 stories हैं जो merge होते हैं हमारी film में, and they are people from different walks of life. She's a pilot, he's a migrant, I'm a sex worker. Prakash Belwadi sir is playing a father essentially who wants to meet his daughter, and he's an old man trying to do things by himself. And it speaks about, so it's sort of cinematically 4 stories, but basically talks about how people from all walks of life have suffered. All walks of life have sort of come together and survived it as human race, you know. And it's a global subject. It's something that har koi it's very relevant, and everyone will be able to relate to it because everyone's gone through it in their own degrees, in their own parameters of the lockdown. So I think more than anything, it's a reminder of how we all sort of came together.
Right. Prateik, would you want to
I
add?
think Shweta has summed it up beautifully. It's a reminder of a time where we all faced this trauma together. You know, it was a universally shared emotion, if I may. It's an emotion that we can't really put a finger on. We can't really give it a term, but it was an emotion, and we all felt it. You know, and I think I really hope that people feel that and understand that, you know, this was something we experienced together. And I don't think it's a reminder. I don't think it will take the audience, you know, in through that dark phase again. I don't think that will. I hope it doesn't, but I think it will. I think it will give the audience a sense of togetherness, I think, because like Sir said, like Shweta said, it was all of us went through it. The entire world. There was rich, poor, good, bad, ugly, whatever
was
walks
fair.
of life. Absolutely. I think it's just like Shweta said beautifully. It's a reminder of a time where we all came together and survived together.
Right, true. Aahana, since you've not spoken yet, so I'll ask this to you. Your profession was also something which we couldn't shoot at that point of time, right? And something very closely to your character as well. You couldn't fly for the longest time. So were there like relatable moments for you? Were those moments that took you back to the lives that we've lived during the lockdown, or anything like that?
So globally, when you look at the world, I mean, I think everybody is not as, as like the way India lives. Everybody does not live with their families. Globally, a lot of people live in isolation across the world. So I felt like my story was a very global story, which was talking about an individual coming to terms with loneliness. I think loneliness is a very global, like how anxiety and mental health and everything has become a conversation in today's times. Loneliness is again a conversation that has emerged out of a lockdown, or through the stories of lockdown. Loneliness has become a very important conversation. I think what my character felt is something I did not feel till I went into an isolation myself, And when I was isolated, I felt exactly what my character would have felt. To be able to yearn to see somebody, to have that emotional or a human connect. I think it's a very important thing, that we take for granted when we live our lives, because we are always surrounded with people. We are always surrounded with our loved ones, or surrounded with colleagues, people at work. Sometimes we don't realize that how lonely we actually are. And Moon's character has been very beautifully summed by Madhur sir in that story, where she is yearning for that one human connect, and that one person who she can even talk to, because she lives a very isolated, high-flying sort of a life, but she's isolated in her own world, She doesn't feel the need to connect to her own family. She doesn't feel the need to really have anybody around her. She's a very fiercely independent young woman, which I think is a hustle a lot of young women in our generation feel in today's times, where, I mean, I feel like that sometimes, I go I don't really need anybody. I'm quite happy in my own space, and I'm this single young woman in today's world, absolutely dynamic. I can take care of myself, and I can fend for myself.
Right.
So I feel it's a very global conversation with that story. And when I was shooting that, it was incredible, because the boy Satvik Bhatia, who's playing my neighbor, she feels this connect with this boy. And in that whole loneliness, she's trying to find companionship. And she's not looking at him like as a romantic companionship. She's just wanting or yearning to just overcome that loneliness, which she's now suddenly discovering.
Right.
I remember during the lockdown when I had a number of releases, between March to I think April, throughout the year. And I used to do these Zoom interviews had suddenly begun. And I remember like I was anyways coming to terms with Zoom interview hota kaise, like when they're sending you the Zoom link, tripod kahan lagana hai, laptop kaise rakhna hai, and I remember talking to so many journalists at that time who were suddenly stuck in Bombay, stuck in Delhi, stuck in Kolkata, God knows where all, and they were all telling me कि यार हम घर पे फंसे हुए हैं, मुझे एक्चुअली घर जाना है, मैं जबलपुर जा ही नहीं पा रही हूँ, देयर इज नो वे आई कैन गेट होम, या मैं इलाहाबाद नहीं जा पा रही हूँ, मैं लखनऊ नहीं जा, एंड आई वाज लाइक रियली, मैं अपनी फैमिली के साथ आई वोंट से फंसी थी, मैं अपनी फैमिली के साथ रह रही थी, बट इट वाज अमेजिंग बिकॉज हम लोग मतलब ये था कि भाई तुम झाड़ू कर लो, तुम पोछा कर लो, तुम ये कर लो, तुम फलाना कर लो, ढिमकाना कर लो, लेकिन जो बंदा अकेले फंसा हुआ था उसके साथ उसने कैसे अपना पूरा दिन बिताया अपने साथ. In fact, I think there was a journalist just before you who said कि when I used to look down from the balcony, मुझे 5 लोग दिख जाते थे, मैं बहुत खुश हो जाती थी. And I think that says a lot. So loneliness is again a very important conversation, which I think he's managed to spark that conversation beautifully. And it's a phenomenon felt globally, and I don't think people talk about it very often.
True. Got it. That was actually nicely put. Shweta, something to you, because you play a character like the way you play and you take on the, there are a lot of small nuances and not just how the character is supposed to look. So what was that like for you to, did it feel like, a bold move as an actor, as however you put in yourself into the shoes of the character?
Well, Mehrunisa is a commercial sex worker and she stays in Kamatipura, Mumbai. And I think as an actor, it's a privilege that हम एक ही लाइफ टाइम में बहुत सारी लाइफ जीते हैं. एंड द मोर जितना वर्सटाइल, जितना अलग हो, अपने कंफर्ट जोन से जितना दूर हो, जितना चैलेंजिंग हो, आई थिंक उतना ज़्यादा एज एन आर्टिस्ट मुझे मज़ा आता है. तो ऑफ कोर्स द रिसर्च वाज ऑलरेडी ऑन पॉइंट. शेफाली who's done our the stylist, like you slip into the costume and you've become this new person, and I very consciously choose roles which are very different from one another. It's constantly alag hote hain. But yes, I think God lies in the details, and one has to sort of pay attention there. We made a trip to Kamatipura, Mumbai. Madhur sir, the art director, Kiku, our cinematographer, और मैं, और वहाँ पर we met sex workers, and I spoke to them. पहले वो थोड़ी shy थी to speak in front of everyone. Then even Madhur sir sort of stepped out, and मैंने कुछ लोगों से बात की, and I saw how they lived, their body language, the way they sat, the way वो अपना हाथ कमर पे कैसे रखते हैं, या बीड़ी पी रहे थे तो कैसे कर रहे थे, या बच्चों से कैसे बात करते हैं, उनका लैंग्वेज, उनके देखने का तरीका, उनके बोलने का तरीका, or even scratching their head, there's a different, like I would do this, but they would, it's a little different,
Right.
And also the way they lived. एक room में बहुत सारे beds थे. There's one shared bathroom which had a strong smell of detergent, soap and oil and talcum powder. So during the shoot, I was only using talcum powder and chameli ka tel. So I used to, so it's just that little thing where you feel you're actually living in that environment, and I think that just to become that person. I think for me acting is transcending. There is this one moment you find where you feel this character possessing you completely and using your body to speak through you to thousands and millions out there, telling somebody else's story. I think that's a responsibility as an artist. And subconsciously I cannot be thinking about anything else. I can't be thinking मेरा story गया या नहीं, या किसने मेरा post check किया, या अब खाना क्या है, अच्छा इसके बाद क्या करना है. Subconsciously also I had to be Mehrunisa. That was, I had to give her that due respect. So yes, I had to pay attention, especially this one. And I had a very hard time parting from her, because वो कितनी प्यारी है यार. Mehrunisa बहुत प्यारी है, and I don't say it because I portrayed it, but I mean, look at her. She is actually this person. It's just, she's used my body to come out in front of all of you, and thanks to him for giving me this opportunity. लेकिन वो बहुत बिंदास है, and वो even in that, and Mehrunisa के through जितने भी commercial sex workers हैं, I came to know that so many people had survival issues because lockdown direct impact उनके business पे, उनके survival पे पड़ा था because they don't have anywhere else to go. And not much about their community was highlighted during the lockdown. We didn't read much about them. So and she's like feisty, she's bindas, and she's always smiling, and I think that was the survival, that streak in her that I fell in love with when he told me about her.
Right. Anyone else can also answer, of course, but this is more to you, sir. As a filmmaker in the post-pandemic situation, have you and others that you probably speak to become more confident of projects that get OTT releases? Be it a Bubbly Bouncer that happened for you recently. Now there is strong word of mouth, and Bubbly Bouncer also got rave reviews for it. So has that come along? Because pehle there's constantly been this OTT versus big screens, but that's lessened relatively. So is it confidence
I think
also?
the lines are getting blurred very soon between the OTT and the theatre, but there will be audience in both the places. Theatre magic will be there. At the same time, OTT is here to stay, coexist together. And before lockdown, if you see 2017, 18 and 19, if you see, the OTT and cinema, they existed coexist together. It was doing very well in both the sides. Yeah, I agree with you that post-lockdown happened, a lot of people who didn't have the subscription of OTT, they also went to that place and they started watching movies, series, web series, everything. And not only Indian content, but worldly content they used to watch. So, but I think any film, you just said example of Bubbly Bouncer. Bubbly Bouncer had done absolutely brilliant on the OTT platform. It's been successful. Tamanna's role has been highlighted. People have applauded her character role. And it became a family entertainer. Everybody has started. I know there's so many people who've not gone to theatre have started watching the movie. And so many people have called me. They said, this is the first movie where you can watch the movie with the entire family. So, I personally feel any good content, be it theatre or OTT, people do watch. People do want to watch such content. So I feel that India lockdown also, when we go to the OTT over here, I'm sure there is again this teaser when it came. It's created a huge curiosity among the audiences, and with the trailer also, people are talking about it and people want to see the movie.
It was trending. And
it was trending.
Yeah.
Lockdown over again. So I think good content people do watch. Only thing now I feel OTT has more audiences, more vast. People watch, they download their films and they watch in the plane, train, anywhere sitting. Anywhere. People, in hospitals, anywhere. People are watching it. So I think that's a great thing. The reach is tremendous, huge. So, and obviously, what an artist, what a filmmaker needs, he wants his craft or his talent or his work to be applauded and to be seen by more and more people. And this is the biggest satisfying thing for me as a filmmaker or any artist of this. That they feel that मेरा काम लोगों ने देखा, सराहा, पसंद किया. That is very important.
I think it's very democratic. I think OTT is really democratic because you have films, you have short films, you have documentaries, you have Indian content, you have, अलग region के है, जैसा सर ने कहा वर्ल्ड सिनेमा है, दूसरे देश के सीरीज है, एंड पीपल आर एंजॉयिंग एंड वाचिंग एवरीथिंग एंड पीपल आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इट. लाइक इफ अ फिल्म डज वेल, we know it. Like, that's the power of internet. It starts trending. You know it
people
instantly.
write about you, people write you on Instagram, Twitter, anywhere. Word
It's
of
word
mouth
of mouth.
also. Yeah.
Which is great power because the audience has the power today. Audience has the power today. पहले ऐसा होता था कि कोई बड़ी फिल्म आई है तो सिर्फ उसी को शोज मिलते थे. और so called छोटी फिल्में जो शायद बेटर हो, उनको सुबह के शोज या रात 11 बजे के शोज मिलते थे और वो एक हफ्ते में निकल जाते थे. But now it's all together, So I think that's great. But as Sir said, it needs to coexist. Whether it's theatre, whether it's cinema, whether it's OTT, virtual reality.
Cinema, I'm telling you, this is again what you said, you're talking about. It's basically globally, it has been hit. It has been in slump. Okay, and I think it's very time being. कि ऐसा भी नहीं कि हॉलीवुड की बहुत सुपर हिट हो गई है पिक्चर ब्लॉकबस्टर, ऐसा भी नहीं है कि हमारी पिक्चरें नहीं चल रही है. साउथ में भी सब पिक्चरें नहीं चली है, कुछ पिक्चरें चली है. तो वो जो डेंट हुआ है वो ओवरऑल सब जगह हुआ है, पूरे शोबिज में हुआ है. तो आई एम श्योर थोड़ा टाइम जाएगा, थिंग विल स्टार्ट मूविंग एंड पीपल विल वॉच मूवीज इन थिएटर. थिएटर का एक जो मैजिक है वो जाएगा थिएटर में पिक्चर देखने के लिए.
Right, got it. Also, since like Shweta ने बोला कि your audience knows and your audience decides at the end of the day, right? Especially because we live in such a tech savvy and such a social media centric place right now. So as actors, as filmmakers, to what extent do you all accept any kind of criticism that comes your way, especially because at this point everyone is a little too critical of anything that we do.
Everybody's a reviewer.
Yeah, that's there, and reviewers का नाम खराब होता है, but that's also there.
No, but I think it's about, see, what OTT has done is given choice, but then there's also something called spoiled for choice. You know, इतना ज़्यादा content है, how much will you consume? And you want to consume everything and then compare everything to like the West or Korean dramas or something, you know.
Right.
I feel like what South has managed to successfully do, and this is something that I have observed with the films that, you know, I've been watching for the last few months. वो लोग अपने मट्टी से जुड़ी हुई कहानियां बताते हैं. वो मतलब वो कोशिश नहीं कर रहे हैं कुछ बनने की. I think Nawaz had said that in one interview, and I remember, you know, hearing, and I was, the penny dropped for me when he actually said it. He said, जब आप हिंदी फिल्म सेट पे रहते हैं तो सब लोग अंग्रेजी में बात कर रहे होते हैं. तो हमारा पूरा माहौल है इंग्लिश. हम हॉलीवुड हैं, पर हम हॉलीवुड नहीं हैं. हम हिंदी फिल्में बना रहे हैं. लेकिन आप हिंदी फिल्म में आप अपनी ज़मीन से जुड़ी फिल्में बना रहे हैं, आप अपने ज़मीन की कहानियां बता रहे हैं. साउथ में क्या है, वो कोशिश नहीं कर रहे हैं. अगर तमिल फिल्म है तो तमिल में सब लोग बात करते हैं.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
और उधर की बात करते हैं. तेलुगु फिल्म बनाए, तेलुगु में सब बात करेंगे. कोई अंग्रेजी में नहीं बात करते आ रहा है, मतलब यहाँ हूँ आशू.
Look at Malayalam films, yeah, they're
look
so,
at the Malayalam.
Oh my
they
God.
celebrate their culture.
And they are not about
So
like वहाँ
rooted.
fashion show
And
नहीं
what
चल रहा है.
subjects they make.
You know, they are not like वो वहाँ पर कुछ मतलब जलवा, but fashion show नहीं चल रहा है. You know, they are the simplest people trying to tell simple stories about homegrown stories. These are बहुत मिट्टी से जुड़ी कहानी.
मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि वही आना का I'll add to it कि सही बोला कि आपको फिल्में वही बनानी चाहिए जहाँ पे ऐसे हमारे देश में कई ऐसे सब्जेक्ट्स है, कई थॉट है जो आपको बनाना चाहिए. जैसे मैंने कहा था पहले भी इंटरव्यू में कि मैंने जितनी 15 फिल्में बनाई, इंडिया लॉकडाउन भी है, मैंने हमेशा रियल फिल्में बनाई है. मैंने खुद रिसर्च करके बनाई. मैंने ना साउथ इंडियन फिल्म की कॉपी बनाई है. मैं बनाने वाले उनको नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि बनाना चाहिए, उनको सबकी मर्जी है. जो इंग्लिश फिल्म में कॉपी करते हो वो उनकी मर्जी, रीमेक राइट्स लेके ही बनाते हैं आजकल तो. लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि हमारे देश में इतने सब्जेक्ट्स है, इतने अच्छे अच्छे थाट्स है, उसको बनाना चाहिए. आज एक कंथारा जैसी फिल्म हम सोचेंगे कि आती है और उसका पहले दिन का बिजनेस देखो और उसके बाद का बिजनेस देखो, कितना अंतर हो गया. आज 80 करोड़ का बिजनेस हुआ है. जब हम आपसे बात करें वर्ड ऑफ माउथ से, ना उसका कोई पोस्टर है, ना कुछ है, ना कुछ है, बट व्हाट अ फिनोमिनल फिल्म बनाई है. तो मुझे लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं जाके आपको ओरिजिनलिटी पे ये होना. आपको लगता है अच्छा, दूसरी बात डब फिल्म तो आज की तारीख में ऑलरेडी डब होके वो हिंदी में यूट्यूब में घूम रही है. उसके बाद भी आप उसका राइट्स लेते हो, फिल्म बनाते हो. और क्योंकि ऑलरेडी मेरे को तो कॉमन मैन बोलता है सर ये तो रिक्शा वाला मेरे को बोलता है ये तो पिक्चर में देख चुका हूँ सर, ये तो क्यों लोग बना रहे हैं वापस. मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ कई बार मेरा ड्राइवर्स नहीं आता तो आई टेक अ रिक्शा एंड गो. तो मैं उनसे बातचीत करता रहता हूँ फिल्म के बारे में. तो उनसे बात करता बोलते सर ये पिक्चर आ रही है, मैंने सुना. बिकॉज आज के समय इंटरनेट में हर कोई जानता है, फिल्मी नॉलेज है. तो वो कहता है यार ये फिल्म क्यों बन रही है, तो ऑलरेडी मैंने देख चुका हूँ, वो ऐसा नहीं होगा. तो मुझे लगता है कि बॉलीवुड को, हमारी हिंदी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री को, मुंबई इंडस्ट्री को एक इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करना चाहिए. और वो लोगों को वही सब्जेक्ट आप राइटर्स के साथ इन्वेस्ट कीजिए, राइटर्स के साथ बैठिए और एक नया थॉट सोचिए, नया कॉन्सेप्ट. आप अपनी कंथारा बनाइए. यहाँ पे इस तरह का सब्जेक्ट होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. आप अपने थॉट्स दीजिए. आपको लग रहा है कि ये बहुत अच्छा फॉर्मूला वहाँ हिट हुई है जो हम भी बनाते, ऐसा कोई, ये बहुत गलत वहम है कि. और मैं बहुत सालों से देख रहा है भी ना वीडियो कैसी लाइब्रेरी बॉय, मैंने जब भी देखी कई पिक्चरें चलती है, कई पिक्चरें नहीं चलती है, इसकी गारंटी नहीं है. लेकिन आपको लगता है ट्राइड एंड टेस्टेड है, वहाँ चली है तो यहाँ पे भी चली गई, ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है. 80s 90s में भी कई ऐसी फिल्में थी जितेंद्र ये की, काफ़ी और एक्टर्स ने की, जो बहुत वहाँ पे सुपरहिट साउथ वाले ने की, लेकिन यहाँ पे नहीं चली है. सिमिलरली होता है यहाँ वाले भी, वहाँ वाले भी लोग कभी कभी बनाते यहाँ की पिक्चरें, वो नहीं चलती है. तो इट द बोथ वेज. तो लेकिन मुझे लगता है आज की तारीख में जहाँ पे इतना लोगों के पास नॉलेज है एंड एवरीथिंग, आज आप एक पोस्टर भी डालते हो और आपने किसी से कॉपी किया तो 5 मिनट में दूसरा पोस्टर आ जाता है कि देखो आपने ये देखो ये इससे कॉपी किया. तो यू हैव टू बी वेरी अलर्ट. क्या? बिकॉज सोशल मीडिया है, सोशल मीडिया का पावर है. सोशल मीडिया का पावर है तो कहीं ना कहीं आपको जाते हैं, सीन भी दिखाते हैं, देखो ये सीन से कॉपी किया, ये सीन से कॉपी किया. तो आई थिंक ऑडियंस में अवेयरनेस हुई है. हर आदमी, जैसे सही बोला कि हर आदमी एक रिव्यूअर है, हर आदमी अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू देता है. तो नहीं, बिकॉज ऑफ द कंटेंट दे सी
ऑलवेज शार्प थी.
Now they have
I
a
think the last 2
platform.
years the
Platform मिल
filtering
गया
has
सर,
happened.
हाँ,
you
उनको
know?
प्लेटफॉर्म मिल गया क्योंकि
Choice नहीं था पहले.
देखिए क्या है, अगर आप घर पे बैठ के आपके हाथ में रिमोट है, यू हैव सो मच पावर दैट इफ इट्स 5 मिनट्स में आप बोर हो रहे हैं तो आप चेंज कर सकते हैं. अगेन एज आई सेड, स्पॉइल्ड फॉर चॉइस.
Right.
तो अगर आपके पास 5 प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं, आप उन 5 प्लेटफॉर्म्स में आपको इतना ज़्यादा कंटेंट मिलता है जो आपकी कंट्री रिलेटेड नहीं है. मतलब आपको मेक्सिको से कंटेंट मिल रहा है, आपको कोरिया से मिल रहा है, आपको जापान से मिल रहा है, रशिया से मिल रहा है, कहाँ कहाँ से मिल रहा है. आप मुझे बताइए, यू डोंट हैव द पावर टू चेंज. इट्स लिटरली ऑन योर फिंगर टिप्स. और लोगों ने 2 महीने में, मतलब उस 1 साल में, वो जो लॉकडाउन का पीरियड था, उसमें इतना कंजम्पशन हो गया, दैट पीपल वर लाइक, यार हमको जो अभी तक फीड किया जा रहा था ना, अब हम वो नहीं देखेंगे.
क्योंकि हमारे पास इतना अच्छा कंटेंट है, हम क्यों देखेंगे ये? हमको सुपीरियर चीज देखने मिल रही है तो हम क्यों देखेंगे? आपने देखा स्क्विड गेम, पूरे वर्ल्ड में कितना बड़ा हिट था वो. पूरे वर्ल्ड में कोरियन सीरीज यहाँ पे आया, डब हुई, लोगों ने देखी, मैंने हर कोई जगह हिंदी में भी डब है उसको. तो पीपल देख रही है तो उनको लग रहा है यार ये तो कमाल का वर्ल्ड दिखाया इन्होंने, एक अद्भुत नया वर्ल्ड था वो.
कुछ नया देखने को मिला. You know, although it was very violent, not like advocating violence.
But it was extremely gripping.
But even people who actually can't stand violence liked it.
Yeah, that one I would never watch.
Same.
I also would never watch. But I'm telling you, after first episode, I started watching.
Yeah,
My
because
God,
it
it
kept
is
you
just. And I couldn't sleep. एक episode देख के सोता हूँ आज. एक episode देख के सोता हूँ. मैंने really binge watch किया. बहुत कमाल बनाई थी.
ये binge भी एक और नई चीज आ गई थी ना.
True. Prateik, since you've been silent for a long time, so I'll ask this to you, and I'd like the other 2 actors to also answer. You did we saw you in a FOMO shots recently, and then we've seen you in other different varied roles uske pehle, and now there's this role which is also completely different from what we saw you last do. How much of a conscious effort has this been throughout your career, and how do you filter things through?
It's been an extremely conscious effort, and I think I can speak for all of us over here, all the actors over here. That's what we strive to do. We strive to play different characters and vastly different from each other, so that we can challenge ourselves, get out of our comfort zone, learn new things about ourselves, about our processes, about each character's process, how getting into the skin of each character, and each process is different because each character is different. It's a very conscious effort. I don't know if I've been doing this since the very beginning of my career. I think पहले 5-8 साल इतना conscious नहीं था, लेकिन ज़हन में थी वो चीज़ कि नहीं एक. And I obviously had a role model. I had my mother as a role model, and her body of work and career. But अभी recently, 6-8 साल से, it's been a very conscious effort to play vastly different characters, and I think that's what feeds my soul. It feeds my soul, and that is what I think most passionate actors strive to do is play. Just be as versatile as we can, and give our 100 to 500,000% to our characters and the process.
Right. Okay, second last question from me. Since we were having this conversation about Kantara and how beautiful the film is and everything like that, when y'all see such films or such shows or any kind of project that receives the kind of word of mouth that this one has received, as artists and as filmmakers, what is the kind of FOMO that you all feel that, like, why aren't we doing such kind of stuff?
Absolutely,
And jealousy, and so much of jealousy.
Yeah, completely.
I'm serious, and
I watched this. I told her also. I watched this series called Tehran on Apple.
Right.
to watch it. I
My
watched it
God,
because
it is like phenomenal. I mean, I wish I would make this. Tehran on Apple TV. Beautiful. Israeli, yeah. It's a beautiful series, and it is, my God, it's a two season, and it's so gripping. Like, you don't want to get up for a water also. आप ऐसे बैठे हो. It's so beautiful. So I wish जब मैं देखता हूँ, यार क्या writing है, क्या performance है, क्या shoot किया है. इसका 50% भी हम बना लेवे तो मजा आ जावे. It's so beautiful. तो obviously वो थोड़ा सा अंदर का आर्टिस्ट आपको जागता है, बिकॉज आर्टिस्ट भी लोग देखते हैं व्हेन दे सी एनी गुड परफॉर्मेंस दे विश कि यार ये मैं कर सकता था, या आई विश आई वुड गेट अ रोल. तो सेम एज अ फिल्म मेकर आई फील माय गॉड आई विश आई वुड मेड दिस फिल्म. यार क्या फिल्म बनाई है इसने, वो होता है.
Well, I think, but end of the day, we are all audiences as well. So I
Yeah,
think
we are
when good
audiences.
work comes out, you also sort of celebrate it. Like, you know, when Kantara, जब हमने देखने गए थे, मैंने इतने लोगों को बोला.
हाँ मैंने भी I tweeted like I went like
I
mad.
remember I'd gone to Ghatkopar to watch it, and we had gone for a 7 o'clock show, and people were hooting and clapping.
Clapping.
That's so amazing. I think as an audience, as an artist, it makes me
feeling.
great.
It was a festive feeling. I'm telling you, it was a festival in the
felt like
theatre.
this.
You know,
It's a
because
film
when
in a
good
long
work
time.
is celebrated, it feels good.
Right.
That, you know, good work is being celebrated. इस पे काम हुआ है, ये एक passion project है और आपको दिख रहा है, हर frame में दिख रहा है. So when films like Kantara, or when, you know, Fahd Fasil films, or, you know,
Right.
good films get that word of mouth, I mean, I think we really celebrate it.
Yeah.
more
As
than
audiences,
anything.
we must learn how to
Yeah.
celebrate every good performance.
Absolutely.
I mean, of course, as artists, you feel jealous. Like, I wish, you know, because I'm sure ये feeling सब में आई होगी, because everybody has watched The
रोज
Crown.
आती है.
You know, The Crown, everybody has watched, and look at the production.
I still have to watch The
quality.
Crown. I've immediately
तेरा
देखा
देख लिया
जाएगा.
और Crown नहीं देखा.
अभी देखा जाएगा.
But I'm just saying, in The Crown, when you watch the production quality, when you see the kind of research that has gone into that show, sometimes I wonder, why don't we
Wow.
put in that kind of
Yeah,
research
that's
into ours?
नहीं
that's
करते
something.
हैं यार.
नहीं but
यार,
you know
ये
scam.
feeling आती है.
Scam was there, yeah.
You'll pick up one good show and you'll be like, that's it. But
Yeah.
why do we have only that one show as a benchmark?
I know.
I think, like, you know, when you're doing a historical project, or you're doing a project that's talking about something to do with the history of that country, I'm not saying make a mythological show and make the sets wow only. I'm saying the research, the way the dialogues are written, the way a character's research.
And every department
and the
is on
nuances,
point.
Exactly.
On point,
Why
absolutely.
can't we produce or
Yes,
generate
that's
that kind of content?
something I absolutely agree with. And although, I mean, you know, we do work with good makers and we are working on great projects and good teams, but I
We've
have
never
worked
given
with
time.
teams. I have worked with teams where I'm like, क्यों बना रहे हो? मतलब
Yeah,
क्या
if you
कर
don't
रहे हो?
do
Like,
it,
why
please
are you
don't do
doing
it.
it?
It's fine.
It's art. It's art. You can't be treating it like, of course it's business. Of course it's a job. But a lot of sets, I'm like, why are you even? Have you questioned why you're making films? Have you questioned why you're making the series? नहीं वहाँ चली थी, हम भी वैसा ही कुछ करेंगे.
नहीं, वही
ये
तो
अभी
चक्कर
trend
है.
में है.
Absolutely.
That following the trend, that following that herd mentality, that's something that really bothers me.
That's
break the
really-
mold,
absolutely,
do something
absolutely,
new, and be courageous. You know, the audience is ready to. They're lapping it. अच्छी कंटेंट को, अच्छे स्टोरीज
नहीं
को
यहाँ
सेलिब्रेट
यहाँ
करें.
प्रॉब्लम ये की है ना कि लव स्टोरी चल गई तो सबको लव स्टोरी
फिर
बनाना
सब वही
है.
बना रहे हैं.
माइथोलॉजी चल गई तो माइथोलॉजी बनाना
funny
है.
ghost
ये
story
छोटे
चल गई तो
ये
सारे like
ये
और वो
small
कभी नहीं
town का
चलती है.
story
वो कभी नहीं
अब सब
चलती है.
यही करेंगे.
एक
That
एक
formula is not-
एक्टर चल गया सबको काम करने
हाँ,
वाला. Which is fine.
exactly.
Which is, I mean, which is
formula
great.
is a problem for
Which is
sure.
great.
नहीं वो प्रॉब्लम वो भी है. वो एक्टर से वही काम करेंगे जिसके वजह से सक्सेस मिला है.
Success मिला है.
बेचारा.
हाँ, correct.
वो बेचारा वही करता रहेगा. फिर उसको टाइप का नहीं उसमें वो
उसको
चलिए
type
यार वो एंटरटेनर है. आपने उसको सीरियस रोल क्यों कराया? नहीं मजा नहीं है.
You know, Amul ji told me that when he was Amul Palekar saab, when he said that when he was cast for Bhumika,
what a character.
and he was like, you know, he was
कैसा क्या
doing
film है?
और
अरे वो तो कल्ट है
वो बासु चैटर्जी, ऋषिकेश मुखर्जी की ये फिल्म्स कर रहे थे. He was doing Golmaal and he was doing
and he
all
played a
this,
great character.
you know, and then he did Bhumika where he's grey and he told me, he's like, you know, Shweta, so many people told me don't do it, you have an image, but I wanted to break it. That's bold.
अरे
And what a movie.
Extremely relevant.
That is
आज
bold.
Very relevant.
40 साल बाद यार. It's just-
relevant.
I mean,
But there
और
was
अमजद
that
अली
parallel-
खान in शतरंज के खिलाड़ी, you know, you can't imagine him in
But
after
that's what I'm
Gabbar.
saying. That's what a parallel
अरे
cinema did.
अपना उस्तव अमजद भाई
अमजद अली खान साहब.
नहीं अमजद खान अमजद खान साहब इन उत्सव. माय गॉड कांट बिलीव इट.
Right. Since I've got my cue, so the last question to all of y'all. If you could give me one-liners or one-word reasons as to why people should watch the movie.
You've said that, and I think you've sounded beautiful.
चलो one
in the
line में
last
बोलो.
one line.
because this was a universally shared emotion, and
shared emotion.
And this
we
was the
shared-
universally shared.
we shared
completely.
this. All of us shared this emotion. We don't know what this emotion was, but we felt it. You know. We
True.
felt
And
it.
when people watch the movie, they'll definitely feel that feeling about how everybody is good. It will connect to each and every person on the globe.
Absolutely.
Right. Of course, the trailer definitely did. I'm sure it will ahead with the audiences as well. Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you all. All the
Thank
very
you.
best.
Thank you.
Z5 2nd December India lockdown.
देखिएगा जरूर